Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today because we're going to be talking about Yemen once again. All right, I feel like I've talked about Yemen and the Houthis like 3 or 4 times this week, but it's because there's so much going on over here. All right, we just had massive strikes again in Yemen just last night. This is at least the third or fourth US led coalition strike, and by that, I mean that's the US, the UK, along with dozens of other countries supporting these campaign strikes inside of Yemen. Okay, so these aren't just these little strikes that, we're taking out some Houthi missiles here and there or some ballistic missiles or some drones. No, this was massive strikes across Yemen, even near their capital of Sana'a. Okay, so obviously these are precision strikes against the Houthis, not so much civilians. But, once again, this is at least the third or fourth time we've had a massive bombing campaign inside of Yemen. And I think this is due to what happened last week, just a week ago in Jordan, and a combination of also the warships and commercial ships that have been under attack in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden in just the last week. So these Houthis clearly still need to be suppressed, and we keep bombing and bombing and bombing, but the Houthis keep finding a way to launch more missiles and more drones into the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. So this is in response to within the last week, these attacks from the Houthis. Okay, so I've got several press releases here from CENTCOM that I want to go over. This is the first one here. U.S. CENTCOM destroys 6 anti-ship cruise missiles in Yemen. So this is separate from the bombing campaign yesterday. This is a separate strike, okay? So understand that. On February 3rd at approximately 7:20 p.m. Sana'a time, U.S. Central Command forces conducted strikes in self-defense against 6 Houthi anti-ship cruise missiles prepared to launch against ships in the Red Sea. U.S. forces identified the cruise missiles in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen and determined they presented an imminent threat to U.S. Navy ships and merchant vessels in the region. This action will protect freedom of navigation and make international waters safer and more secure for U.S. Navy and merchant vessels. So again, this was 6 Houthi anti-ship cruise missiles that were prepared to launch. This is not the U.S.-led coalition strike that happened. This is a separate attack. Okay, so we had multiple things going on yesterday. Lots of attacks inside of Yemen, and it just continues to ramp up over here. And obviously, these warships and the commercial ships still keep coming under attack. We had reports as well that there was a cargo ship that was carrying livestock. Apparently, it had like, I don't know, sheep on it or lamb or something like that, some sort of animals coming from Australia. And apparently, it was about to go through the Gulf of Aden, I believe. And then for some reason, they diverted. I don't know if that was something to do with the Houthis, or if that was like a contract issue with the company. But it definitely seemed a little strange there. I don't know if they were trying to avoid that area because of the Houthis or not, but I did hear about that. So I have another CENTCOM press release here. So this is going to be talking about the actual coalition strike. Okay, so U.S. forces, allies conduct strikes in Yemen. Okay, so February 3rd. So this was yesterday as well, as part of an ongoing international effort to respond to increased Iranian-backed Houthi destabilizing illegal activities in the region. On February 3rd at approximately 11:30 p.m. Sana'a time, U.S. Central Command forces alongside UK armed forces and with the support of Australia, Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, and the Netherlands, and New Zealand conducted strikes against 36 Houthi targets at 13 locations. So 13 locations were hit, 36 separate targets in Iranian-backed Houthi terrorist-controlled areas of Yemen. These multilateral coalition strikes focused on targets in Houthi-controlled Yemen used to attack international merchant vessels and U.S. Navy ships in the region. These Iranian-backed Houthi targets included multiple underground storage facilities, command and control, missile systems, UAV storage and operation sites, radars, and helicopters. These strikes are intended to degrade Houthis' capabilities used to continue their reckless and unlawful attacks on U.S. and UK ships, as well as commercial shipping in the Red Sea, Bab al-Mandeb Strait, and the Gulf of Aden. These strikes are separate and distinct from the multinational freedom of navigation actions performed under Operation Prosperity Guardian. So again, this is separate just from like that strike that I was telling you, just the last press release where they took out those where the UAVs or ballistic missiles that were prepared to launch. Those are separate from this strike here. Okay, this is a U.S.-led coalition strike. It's completely different, and it's not necessarily part of the Operation Prosperity Guardian. So, yeah, lots happening over here. And once again, we have another attack. So I think there was three separate attacks. Okay, we had two smaller attacks inside of Yemen, and then one large one, that coalition strike. So here's another one here. U.S. CENTCOM destroys an anti-ship cruise missile in Yemen. Okay, on February 4th. So this was actually just today, but very early, 4 a.m. in Sanaa time. So over here, I believe we are behind them. So it was still the 3rd here. So, U.S. Central Command forces conducted a strike in self-defense against a Houthi anti-ship cruise missile prepared to launch against ships in the Red Sea. U.S. forces identified the cruise missile in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen and determined it presented an imminent threat to the U.S. Navy ships and merchant vessels in the region. So, look at how quick this happened. So this was at 4 a.m., right? This was just hours after the massive bombing campaign in Yemen again. So this is why I keep saying here, we can go ahead and bomb these groups all we want. We can bomb them and bomb them and bomb them. We can literally bomb them every day. But they're going to be storing a lot of these missiles, a lot of these drones in areas that don't get hit by these coalition strikes and the airstrikes that US launches. And they're just going to be able to bring them out and launch them again. So that's why I've been saying that when it comes to, the Houthis and any of these groups, really, doesn't matter who it is, you can't possibly bomb them enough to suppress them. The most they can really do is just really watch out for if they try to bring one of these missiles out or one of these drones, they just try to take it out as soon as they can before it launches and attacks a ship nearby or something like that. That's really the most they can do. And, it's just going to stay like that, really. That's what we're going to continue to see over here. We will see more U.S.-led coalition strikes, just like we saw yesterday. We'll see them continue to attack these Houthi launch sites. So as soon as they're able to detect that a missile's being launched or about to be launched or a drone or something like that, they'll just go ahead and strike it. And it's just going to continue that way until, the war in Gaza is over, or until the Houthis decide that, hey, we're not going to go ahead and attack ships no more. But they've said that they're going to continue doing it until the war is over in Gaza. So here's a little bit more information here on that U.S.-led coalition strike. U.S. Britain strikes Yemen's Houthis in new wave, retaliating for attacks by Iran-backed militants. So this is a couple reasons why they're doing this. As part of the Jordan attacks, and also the Jordan attack on that military outpost where we had those 3 troops that were killed. And then also, for all the attacks throughout the Middle East and Iraq and Syria, all these U.S. bases that have been hit. And then on top of that, it's a retaliation for U.S. warships and commercial shipping coming under attack, and they're trying to suppress the Houthis as well. So real quick, United States and Britain struck 36 Houthi targets in Yemen on Saturday in a second wave of assaults meant to further disable Iran-backed groups that have relentlessly attacked American international interests in the wake of the Israel-Hamas war. But Washington once more did not directly target Iran as it tries to find a balance between a forceful response and intensifying the conflict. U.S. Central Command said its forces conducted an additional strike on Sunday in self-defense against a Houthi anti-ship cruise missile prepared to launch against ships in the Red Sea. U.S. forces identified the cruise missile in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen and determined it presented an imminent threat to U.S. Navy ships and merchant vessels in the region. The action will protect freedom of navigation and make international waters safer and more secure for U.S. Navy vessels and merchant vessels, the Post added. The strikes on Saturday against the Houthis were launched by U.S. warships and American and British fighter jets. So this was a pretty massive attack again, pretty similar to what we saw the very first time that the US and the UK attacked Yemen. When we first had that really massive bombing campaign, this was probably about half that effort, but it was still a pretty massive attack. The strikes followed an air assault in Iraq and Syria on Friday that targeted other Iranian-backed militias and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in retaliation for the drone strikes that killed 3 U.S. troops in Jordan last weekend, just like I mentioned. So, yeah, we're gonna be seeing more of this. Excuse me. We're gonna be seeing more attacks inside of Yemen. We're gonna be seeing more strikes inside of Iraq and Syria on these other Iranian-backed militias, especially if they continue attacking U.S. troops at these air bases, which they just came under attack yesterday, I believe. Again, just hours after the U.S. launched those massive strikes across Iraq and Syria, they were already under attack again by these Islamic resistance in Iraq fighters. So, what are we going to see here? We're going to continue to see more strikes. We're going to continue to see more aggression from the United States because Biden has come out and said this is not the end. There's going to be more attacks. This is only the beginning of this bombing campaign throughout the Middle East. And a lot of this is in retaliation and to get revenge for those troops that were killed and for all these attacks that the U.S. has been allowing on all these air bases throughout Iraq and Syria. Okay, there's been well over almost 170 attacks by now, actually. And, if you count what's going on in Yemen, too, it's probably well over 200 or 250 by now. Okay, so lots and lots of these Iranian-backed groups that are attacking U.S. troops, okay, whether it be aircraft, whether it be bases, whether it be warships. Okay, and you're probably wondering why I say aircraft, because there was a report that just came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and it was talking about how there was a missile that was set up inside of Yemen from the Houthis, and they said that it was potentially aimed towards an aircraft. Okay, so I don't know if they had a fighter jet flying in that area or what it was. But apparently they were trying to, launch a missile towards an aircraft. They weren't able to get it off in time. But that was the report that supposedly they were trying to attack an aircraft, which I thought was interesting. We haven't really seen that. Excuse me. And I didn't really know that the Houthis had that kind of capability. I didn't know they had, anti-air missiles. I know they have like ballistic missiles and rockets and UAV drones and things like that. But I didn't really know they had capability to shoot down jets. So, who knows, though? Iran is probably really starting to spread their arms all the way throughout the Middle East and give, more missiles to all these groups so they can continue to attack the United States. And I'm going to be doing a video here pretty soon on Iran. I'm going to be talking to you guys about something that's very serious. So stay tuned to that. But that's going to be it for this video in terms of Yemen. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and listening to this information. It's important that we stay up to date on this because anything could happen at any moment. So that'll be it here. Appreciate you being here again. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video. And if you enjoy my content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. YouTube can notify you. And we'll see you guys all in the next one. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you all have a great day. Take care and God bless everybody.